Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas, and we've got a great show for you today as we start to really dive into football season. We got football picks, we got baseball picks, we've got home run picks, we've got all your picks and questions in the chat. Let's see how we did yesterday on the recap screen. My Cubs first five was looking good for a minute, and then it was looking pretty bad. I lose that one, but we go 4-2 overall. Buckets hits 2 out of 3. Calvin, an absolute no sweat on that Segrist rebound under, and the SportsLine pick hits very easily. Another winning recap screen. We've been on a nice little run over the last 4 or 5 days, and let's keep it going with the stars of the show. Again, it's football season, so you know Tom Casale is going to be here. We got Mike McClure. We got the Snyper. There's a lot going on. Mike, a little off the cuff here. I do want to ask you, because you came with a football pick, and Tom, you got a football pick. Sniper, you got some baseball picks. Can I just ask you for an U.S. Open update? Any surprises so far? Is it sort of business as usual through the first few rounds or first couple rounds?
Mostly business as usual here. After this round, like today, Thursday, Friday, it really starts to get interesting. You're not looking at as many, minus 1,200 lines, minus 2,000 lines. The matches start to get a little more competitive as the cream kind of rises to the top. One interesting match that I did not play that happens today, the American Jensen Brooksby is an underdog. Think he could be a live underdog, but a lot of variance in that match. Ultimately chose not to play it, but I'll be watching it very closely.
Sniper, you kind of have a lot to live up to today, because one thing that we left off the recap screen, and I don't know, there's a debate whether we could have put it on or whether we couldn't. As everybody knows that watched yesterday, as Jen is reminding me of, Buckets had his injury. If you missed it, get on Twitter, get on SportsLine YouTube, and watch yesterday's show. It's really incredible what happened as Buckets played with scissors, and A-Mags tagged in, and Sniper, you know what he did? He came in here and he said, hey, listen, I know it's the end of the show, but if you don't mind, I'd like to come on the show. I'd like to give out a home run prop on Aaron Judge. He put Bellinger in the chat as well. And he said, Mike Trout's going to strike out in his first at bat. All three of those things hit. So yeah, we had a 4-2 recap screen, but I know a ton of you, of course, why wouldn't you, tailed A-Mag's plays to some degree. So you could make the argument we're much better than 4-2, but Sniper, I mean, that was a mic drop moment.
Yeah, I don't think I can go that crazy today, although it would be nice, but that's a high bar. So yeah, props to A-Mags on that one.
It was incredible. Casale, we've got college football season. We talked about it on the network show yesterday. You are going to park on your couch for the next 5 or 6 months, because we're going to see a lot, not just for college football, but college basketball. I don't know that it's right around the corner, but right around Thanksgiving time, we start to see those tournaments, things start heating up. So you don't have any plans for the next 6 months, do you?
No, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was just thinking of college basketball last night. Like, it's right around the corner now with college football starting. Now that I'm getting old, when I was younger, I used to lose 20 pounds in the summer and then gain 25 in the fall and winter. It's getting harder to do that. I might have to get one of those fat shots. I don't know how, I'm not sure how you get those, but I got one more year in me before I got to get one of those shots to help me out.
Yeah, I think they give those out like candy these days. Always be responsible with finding out everything about all of that stuff. But yeah, Tom, those appear to work. Let's transition, though, to Mike. Let's get to some college football. We've got a huge college football slate today. Through the weekend, we're going to have Tap Gant's picks on the recap screen. So for everybody that missed the Tuesday show, don't worry. Those are going to be on the recap screen. But, Mike, you're going to start us off with the first game of the day at 5:30 Eastern time. Boise State, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm going to play Boise State here, Sia. Look, I think the market has responded pretty strongly in the favor of South Florida. And while I won't dispute the fact that I think South Florida does take a step forward this season, I just don't know that Boise loses that much. I know that the big headline, obviously, is losing a guy like Ashton Jeanty. It's a lot of production on paper to replace, but I still think they have a lot of experience here. Returning starting quarterback, 4 of 5 offensive linemen, a lot of experience here. This is a team, again, that also has historically been able to go produce a ton of running back talent. So it's not taking away from anything Ashton Jeanty did. He was truly one of a kind and a fantastic player, but I think that this team doesn't fall off that much, but it really comes down to the number and the price point that we're getting here, right? So I made this game 7.5, where I thought it should have been the full touchdown just on the other side of it. This game opened 8.5, and we've seen a very strong market stance on South Florida, but now that it has pushed it through the number of 6 and 7, both being very key numbers here to me. At 5.5, I'm willing to make a play here on Boise State because I'm not projecting them as low as I guess the market really is here. It's always interesting trying to figure out, is the market super bullish on South Florida, or are they really down on, Boise losing Ashton Genty, things like that? I personally think it's a combination of both, but I think it's a little out of control pushing through the key numbers of both 7 and 6. So I like Boise State here. I'm going to play them. I already have played them at 5.5 minus 108.
Big Cheesy wants to know, Mike, and I want to get your thoughts on the line movement, Tom, in this game in a second, but do we like the first quarter under Boise USF? Now, I'm looking in some places it's 13.5, and it's juiced to the over in a big way. So the under 13.5 is plus 124 in some places. I would imagine you could catch a 14 somewhere, but I don't know that because that's obviously a key number. What are your thoughts on this first quarter play?
Yeah, definitely will not be one that I will be attacking. Generally speaking, when I'm betting first quarter unders, I'm looking at teams that I know are kind of solid defensively, looking for a little slower pace of play, and just around some of those other numbers. But at 13.5, it's a pretty strong statement. I wouldn't play it. If you want to play 14, like, yes, it's a lot to have multiple touchdowns and something else happen. But in this kind of situation, this early in the season, this high scoring environment, it's not one that I would play.
All right. This might be, the chat is letting me know, and we're going to have the recap screen up in a minute or in a little bit, but this might be one of Taft's plays, right? I think if we could get something from maybe Ben in the chat, I think this is supported by, and actually Ben likes this play as well. Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, this is one of Taft's here. I'll pop on for a second because I also really like the Boise State play, and I was trying to pull my best Mike McClure weather impression, and everyone's talking about, South Florida, humid, hot, could be tough for Boise State. It's been mid 80s, upper 90s in Boise, Idaho for the past week or two, and maybe even 3 weeks. So they've been, practicing and working in hot weather anyway to begin with, not as humid, but still pretty hot. So I don't really buy the weather and humidity angle for South Florida.
Tom, what are your thoughts on the line movement? Because it is pretty significant over the last, week or two.
Well, Mike and I are on the exact same page here. I had an 8. I mean, a month ago, I liked South Florida, and today I like Boise State. As years ago, a long time ago, when I couldn't really bet that well, that was one of the main things I had to learn was don't fall in love with teams. You got to follow your numbers, right? And this game is a perfect example of that. It's gone so far one way that now I like the opposite side. I'm with Mike. I see value on Boise State, and listen, I know they lost Genty, but their defense is loaded. They bring back almost everybody from a really good defense. And I'm a South Florida guy with Mike. I think they're a sleeper in the AAC. I like them overall, but I got to go with Boise State here with the line movement at 5.5.
All right. We've got Volleyball Buckets, aka John Eimer Buckets, the man who plays with scissors during the show and then has to leave because of it. He's in the chat. He says, good morning. Good stuff from Buckets yesterday. 2 out of 3 and just an epic moment. We hope Buckets is okay. It certainly looks like he is as he's typing away on his injured fingers. Let's talk about Wisconsin. So the first game is Boise State at 5:30. And then later on in the night, Tom, we've got Wisconsin at 9 o'clock. What do you like in that one?
Yeah, I gave out Wisconsin 17.5 for a half unit tonight. This is more, last week I was on the show and I gave out Kansas against Fresno State. And the bet wasn't so much about Kansas as it was fading Fresno State with a retooled roster. You look at Miami, they lost all 11 starters on offense. Their offensive line has a combined 3 career starts. I mean, they're really going to struggle, I think, early in the season. And you look at what the odds makers have, their team totals 10.5. So they're not expecting them to score much. I don't expect them to score much either. Wisconsin really worked the transfer portal to revamp a defensive line that struggled against the run. This feels similar to that Kansas-Fresno State game where it's going to be like a 31-3, 31-6 kind of Wisconsin win. So while I probably wouldn't lay 17.5 with Wisconsin often throughout the season, there's a couple of teams like Fresno State and Miami I had keyed to go against early in the year. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin at home. I think they get it done, run the football, defensive line dominates the game, and they cover the 17.5.
All right, we're taking Wisconsin. We're laying the number. John in the chat says, as much as I miss the EE golf picks, the round matchups, bring on the football LFG. I will tell you that there are tournaments during the fall swing where I will have picks. The next one isn't for a couple of weeks, so that's when you'll get some round matchups, some outrights that you'll see. We'll probably have an early wedge show like once a week for those tournaments as well. But the Pro Course, Sanderson, a lot of tournaments coming up in the fall that we will have picks for. So make sure you're dialed into the SportsLine YouTube channel for everything, because football is really about to heat up. I do want to mention a couple of BetMGM promos. Speaking of different sports, we got one relating to the U.S. Open. BetMGM account holders will receive a U.S. Open odds boost token. To use the token, add a wager made up entirely of U.S. Open bets to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win your wager that is made up with the token, you will receive extra winnings. Also, BetMGM players will receive a college football parlay boost token. To use the token, add a college football parlay to your bet slip and activate the token. Score extra winnings if your wager that was made with the token wins. Good stuff from BetMGM as usual. We've got more picks to get to. Sniper, we've kept you quiet way too long. We're going to get to the home run chart. We're going to get to the baseball plays right after this message from our partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Mike, there's a tennis question in the chat that I wanted to bounce off you from Philip Terrassis. Mike, any look at Musetti -2.5, seeing it at +105?
It's the direction I would lean. I feel very confidently that Musetti's going to win the match. This -2.5 is a set bet, so it's betting him to win in straight sets. I don't love it nearly as much as we liked Tiafoe the other day when we played that straight sets at a similar number. Lean there still. I certainly lean there still. As far as other ways to potentially play it, the game spread does kind of map. I would potentially play a game spread. I don't know. It's too juicy. I lean there, but not going to be on my card.
There are people trying to pick up clues in the chat by what everybody's wearing. And for the record, Tom, people are noticing your top button. So I think you're getting compliments there, or at least I interpret them as compliments. Mike, you're wearing a Cubs hat. And so, John has to ask the question, hey, is that some sort of, are we tipping our hand? Like you like the Cubs today? I can't imagine that's the case, right? Or you like them?
We're either tipping our hand, it might be because our producer and one of the guys on the show are Cubs fans. It might be that I woke up late and didn't want to brush my hair. I don't know. It could be any of those things. But will the Cubs win this afternoon? I wouldn't bet against them.
Well, Sniper, before you get to your picks, it is your team. Listen, I took the Cubs first 5 yesterday. I was so first of all, they ended up getting worked in mostly in the bottom of the 5th, but I mean, Ray wasn't good prior to that either. Whisenhunt wasn't really either. And what was so discouraging about it was they left so many players bases loaded twice in the first
double plays
one out. And it's just like this most routine double plays. Actually, the second one wasn't a routine double play. It was kind of quirky, and that we could have got a lot of runs there, but Carson Kelly he may as well have rolled it out it's 2-0. He may as well have rolled it out to the shortstop to complete the double play. This lineup tell me I'm wrong. This lineup just doesn't instill a lot of fear. It seems.
At times you're wrong. I think that there are certain guys going through it right now, like Seiya Suzuki is really struggling right now, but like Kyle Tucker has started to bounce back starting on Friday. Pete Crow Armstrong's looked a lot better recently. Now they had a lefty yesterday. They have had trouble against lefties, but against a righty like Logan Webb today, Michael Bush will be back in the lineup. PCA can rake against righties. Kyle Tucker, if he's back, there's a path to them being scary again, especially with how good Matt Shaw has been in the second half there at the bottom of the order. Craig Counsell needs to quit hitting Carson Kelly toward the middle of the order, and he needs to quit batting Justin Turner cleanup when he's doing the platoon thing. But those are complaints for a different show. Those are my Cubs fan complaints. So, yeah.
All right. Well, talk to me about the Red Sox, because you have two picks here, one on a total and one on the Red Sox. But I do want to say there's some synergy here, because right after you give your picks, we're actually going to give out our SportsLine picks, which I do think there's some synergy, particularly with this first one. Talk to me first about the Red Sox.
Well, first I want to start with producer Ben and I wanted to point out that it is 7 days away from the NFL season, which is Papa Bear Hallis days away from the NFL season. Yeah, he actually wore number 7 as a player, George Hallis. So that's the play for today there.
Thank you for giving us that. Put your favorite number 7 in the chat, because there's some good ones. Again, your favorite number 7, maybe somebody a little bit more current than Papa Hallis, but it's George Hallis. Is that his first name? All right. Mike Vick days away, says John. Elway, says Liddy.
There's a
Jay
lot
Cutler days away. It's 6 days away. Jay Cutler, the famous Chicago Bear. 6 days away.
This is the big argument with Mike McClure and the rest of the early edge team. Is it 6? Is it 7? Sniper, back to you. Is it the Red Sox?
Yes, I will go with the Red Sox here to complete the 4-game sweep. I know that's tough, but the Orioles are cooked right now. They've lost 6 of 7. I think that it's pretty well known in the clubhouse, hey, this season's over, so they don't have as much to get up and play for. Meanwhile, the Red Sox are surging, hopefully in their eyes, toward the AL East title. They've won 6 out of 7. And if you look at the pitching matchup, we've got Garrett Crochet on the mound, surging possibly towards stealing that Cy Young from Tarek Skubal. Cade Povich with his 5.13 ERA on the mound for the Orioles. The Orioles have been really bad against left-handed pitching this season. Crochet is left-handed. Last time Crochet saw them, it was in Camden, and he threw 8 scoreless innings. I expect him to be just as dominant here. I also believe the Red Sox are going to swing it. I've got Roman Anthony as a possible home run play as well, if anybody wants to look at that. But my play in this one is just going to be Red Sox on the run line here. It was close to even money when I got it last night. I think there's a little more juice on it now, but that's why you've got to look at SportsLine. Speaking of, I put another play in last night. Braves Phillies over 9.5 runs here. Again, it was close to even money when I put it in last night. Aaron Nola, bad all year, hurt for a good portion of the year, came back from injury. He was awful. He was a little more adequate last time out, but he still gave up 2 home runs. Now he's facing a Braves offense that is plenty capable. It's not the Braves offense of a few years past, but it's still plenty capable. They scored 12 runs last night. I expect Nola is going to get knocked around a little bit. If he doesn't, Cal Quantrill is there to save the day with his over 5 ERA. It's 9.72 ERA in August for Quantrill against the Phillies offense that is very good, but it's kind of lying in the weeds right now. So that tells me that they're ready to break out. And neither bullpen has been very reliable of late either. So I like a lot of run scoring in this one in Philly.
Before we get to the 2 SportsLine picks, I love what's going on in the chat, and I love Mike McClure's retort. There's a lot of people who are going by the sleeps metric, and I do think that's the proper metric. How many sleeps until football? Which the answer, of course, is 7. And then, of course, Mike battles back with, oh, you all sleep the night before football? And that's a completely fair point. So perhaps it is 6 after all, but the sleeps metric is pretty strong. As John says, 7 sleeps. So does Phil Terrazas. And you're probably wondering what the SportsLine picks are, because I keep talking about them. Let's get to those, and then we'll get to the home run graphic, see if we can go the yard again with Amax
there with Povich.
That's the thing. Cade Povich under 17.5 outs at -130. That one courtesy of Prop Bet Guy. And then we go Clay Holmes under 16.5 outs at -120. That one courtesy of yesterday's superstar, Amags. Again, Clay Holmes under 16.5 outs at -120 says Amags, and Cade Povich under 17.5 outs at -130 says Prop Bet Guy. And Sniper, I do want your response to our home run chart. Let's take a look at that, as I'm seeing picks from Big Cheesy, who we all know is super sharp. He says he likes The over in the Colorado-Houston game of 8.5. These are the top MLB home run plays. Jazz, Chisholm, plus 315 versus plus 400. Juan Soto, plus 330 across the board, and O'Neal Cruz plus 360 versus plus 370. Pretty marginal value there other than Jazz, Chisholm. Sniper, any thoughts on these three or anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to go with O'Neal Cruz. I mean, I know he has so much power, but he's so inconsistent and strikes out a ton. But against Miles Michaelis there in St. Louis with all that humidity in the Midwest, I kind of like that O'Neal Cruz look right there.
You had me at Miles Michaelis for sure. Ray Garcia earlier in the show, he said he liked Boston Red Sox run line, so that is certainly some synergy there. Kylie Reynolds, Sniper, do you like the Nets? Is that the Mets? Mets money line, Yanks money line parlay plus 110.
Yeah, I don't love the Mets in this leg because Clay Holmes, I think we're in fade Clay Holmes part of the season right now. It's not just that he hasn't been that good for the last 6 weeks or so, but it's also that he's always been a reliever. Now he's been a starter all year. When's that workload totally going to catch up to him? So I don't love that one because I would be worried about the Marlins offense kind of going off on Clay Holmes.
All right, we got another U.S. Open question from Josh Davis. Mike, M2, any thoughts on Diallo plus 100 versus Munar in the U.S. Open today?
Yeah, I lean towards Diallo. Again, not on my card, not something I bet, but would lean there and certainly would not be paying the money line on the other side, which is currently minus 130.
Tom, Jeff Stenberg wants to know, he says, I bought a UCF minus 118, minus 110 ticket on Monday. Good buy, or am I already dead?
Yeah, well, he mentioned that the line has gone up to 21. You know, the day of the game, you're going to see the lines go crazy a little bit, especially early in the season. Jacksonville State's another one of those teams that is on my fade early list. New coach, brand new roster. You know, we're still early on in the nil transfer portal era, but these teams that have to retool their entire rosters, their entire offensive lines, they're ones I like to fade early in the year. I couldn't get there with the number with UCF only because they're in the same boat. 50 new players, but I would lean that way.
I'm trying to remember Emory's play. It was Sniper who just talked about, you know, making sure you're dialed into SportsLine. He was talking about the site, sportsline.com. Again, if you want to join, sportsline.com/join, 60% off if you type in the promo code winners. But it's almost as important, to be subscribed to the SportsLine YouTube channel. Because Tom, you, me, and Mike and Emory Hunt, we just gave like all of our week one plays out yesterday. It's on the SportsLine YouTube channel already. And then a few days ago, Tom, on the network show, you and Emory, I think, had a group of 5 FCS conversation, which all of those games are still upcoming. You got to get on the SportsLine YouTube channel or the podcast feed and dial into those, because sometimes they're 5-6 minute clips. Sometimes they're 44-minute shows, whatever it is. There's so much content. And I want to close here because, Mike, there was somebody in the chat that watched that network show yesterday or watched the replay on the SportsLine YouTube channel, which I'm sure everybody is subscribed to. And they mentioned in the chat earlier, you love Notre Dame. And I know, Tom, you might have been slightly on the other side. So let's close the show there. Mike, talk to me about your position, not the position itself, but why you like Notre Dame.
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot to prove still on the Miami side. And I look at coaching staffs, look at the teams. One thing I like about Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman, play very well in big games, extremely disciplined. The knock that I have on Cristobal in that group is they typically always have all the talent in the world, unable to really put it together, typically a little undisciplined. I think what Cam Ward did last season was truly remarkable. They should have lost several games that they didn't end up losing. And I don't know that I like Carson Beck that much. So the thing that I came back to on Carson Beck was there were many times under pressure where he just simply was not it. And that was while playing behind one of the best offensive lines in the country, having the best skill position players in the country, having an awesome defense, an elite coaching staff, just like the best of the best. I think that Notre Dame defensively still is of that caliber. And I think if all else fails, Notre Dame can run the football. In my opinion, they've got the best backfield in the country. Great offensive line. I think they can control enough time of possession, and I like them to win the game here.
Tom, talk to me about Miami, because if I recall, you're like one of the only CBS Sportsline guys that's kind of on Miami Island, where just from a season standpoint, but talk to me about this game.
Yeah, listen, I have a slight lean to Miami. Mike is so confident in Notre Dame. It's kind of bringing me off Miami a little bit because I actually like Notre Dame a lot this year, and I might be having some personal bias here because I kind of hope Notre Dame loses because I love them against Texas A&M coming up, and I like them in the futures market. I do think Miami. Here's the two things that with Notre Dame that are a question mark for me. One, they have a super young quarterback making his first start on the road, and they lose Al Golden as defensive coordinator, who's, in my opinion, the best defensive mind going right now. So is that going to impact them at all? Because I do think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Mike mentioned no Cam Ward. I think the strength for Miami this year is going to be the defensive front and that front seven. Can they at least contain Notre Dame's running game, make this a field position defensive game? So, I think it's going to be a close game. I think the number, Mike has the number closer to a touchdown. So I think this is the only game where our numbers are really off in week one. But with him, I wasn't that confident. With Mike being so confident on Notre Dame, I'm going to sit back and watch. But also, I lived through Catholics versus convicts, and I had a friend who used to sing the Notre Dame fight song in school. So I can't possibly pick Notre Dame against Miami. I just have flashbacks to that.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it's interesting because someone did catch the comment. It typically happens every year, and I said this on the network show. Typically early in either week 1 or 2, there's one line that's just way off. It ends up being my biggest position of the year. I just looked back. My biggest position of last season was Miami week 1 last year against Florida.
Wow.
Now this year, it's going to very likely be against that same team.
And that hit last year?
Yes, they won 41-17.
Yeah.
Wow. Very, very interesting.
It's
Sniper,
a minus 120 money line. They won 41-17. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Well, let's see if history repeats itself there with that position. Sniper, are you intrigued by this? I noticed you liked Indiana in the chat.
I just loved Tom bringing up Catholics versus convicts. That was amazing. That really took me back to like elementary school. That's a great one.
That is absolutely fantastic. All right. We did the home run chart. We did the sports line picks. We got all of your picks. We got to a lot of your questions. A lot of people in the chat. Thank you for being here. Make sure you're subscribed to the SportsLine YouTube channel and to the podcast. I do want to mention a little plug for Fantasy Football Today DFS. Make sure you're subscribed to that on Apple or Spotify and on the Fantasy Football Today channel. That's where we do that show. Me and Mike and Meg Shop will be doing that show within the next hour. We're going to kind of set you up a little bit for the week 1 main slate DFS, but it's going to be a little bit of strategy talk and stock up, stock down stuff as well there. And then next Thursday at 11, we're going to pump out the week 1 best plays and all, basically everything we're playing there. So again, Fantasy Football Today DFS, make sure you're locked in there. Let's take a look at the recap screen. Red Suit Emery says Farzad. He clearly watched the show yesterday. Now, these are from Tuesday's show, Taft Gans picks, which I believe all go down today. Boise State -5.5 over USF. Ohio +15.5 over Rutgers, and Cincy, Nebraska under 53. Then we go right back to Boise State -5.5. That one from Mike McClure at -108. So shop for the best number there. Wisconsin, or the best price, I should say. Wisconsin -17.5 at -110, says Tom Casale. That one at 9 o'clock tonight. And then we go to baseball. Red Sox run line -104. And I believe that's the first game of the day. Yeah, at 105. So a lot going on. When that game ends, it's going to be about the time. We'll have an hour in between the Boise State game starts. So we got sports throughout. And then, of course, Braves Phillies over 9.5 is also from the Sniper. Again, Braves Phillies over 9.5 at -105. Then we go to the sports line picks. Cade Povich, a little correlation here. Under 17.5 ounce at -130. That one courtesy of Prop Bet Guy. And then we go to Clay Holmes under 16.5 ounce at -120. That one from our man A-Mags. And then the home run plays. Jazz Chisholm, Juan Soto, O'Neal Cruz. Those are the SportsLine model top MLB home run plays. What a show. A lot of energy in this show because we got a lot of great baseball, 4 baseball picks, but a ton of football picks. Football is back. We are very, very excited. That means prop betting. That means against the spread. That means DFS. That means all the content that you know and love at SportsLine and in the SportsLine Discord and on this Early Edge show. You'll be seeing it and hearing it every single day. A big thank you to Tom Casale, to Matt Snyder, to Mike McClure, to Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, and to all of you in the chat. Thanks for being in here. Certainly see you tomorrow. Don't forget FFT DFS later today. Oh, and a CBS Sports Network show at 12 o'clock as well. So you're not going to want to miss that. We'll set you up with even more MLB plays. All the three guys you see on this screen, they'll be on that network show. See you next time on The Early Edge. We rest our case.